Welcome to Worldwide Business. I'm Kathy Ireland. Working with a knowledgeable partner for global expansion is critical to avoiding costly mistakes and optimizing profits. Geoswift helps navigate the policies and procedures in China via their global expertise to enable the flow of funds. CEO Raymond Qu and General Manager of the U.S., Nino, are here to tell us all about it. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Raymond, what are some of the challenges companies face specific to China's financial landscape?
China is the second biggest economic entity now, but its currency is still highly regulated. As a result, international companies have a lot of challenges in moving money in and out of China, especially for the bulk transactions, which requires a lot of paperwork and a very slow process. However, in the past few years, Chinese government they made some changes to open doors to the world. Most people in the business world have read a lot of news about these new policies. But to understand these new policies and how to navigate regulatory landscape in China remains a challenge. I think try to better understanding these new policies, the key is to understand the culture where you are doing business in.
Right.
It's not just the language. It's very difficult to get the clear message on the new regulations there. Actually, this is at the core of what Geoswift does. We are one of few North American companies to help international companies to pursue the business opportunity in China by providing one-stop cross-border payment solution there. Today, we are happy to be here to share our experience in China. We have learned in a decade working with the local Chinese banks, Chinese government, Chinese regulators, as well as international companies entering China.
Dana, how does your company use its expertise to address these challenges?
One of the things I think we really try to leverage on our team is accessing our multilingual, multinational employees, and we hire experts and veterans in the payments industry to do that because most of our clients typically have global teams as well, and the expectation is that we would have localized experts to share best practices and just provide that support to help navigate them through the complexities of entering a new market like China with multiple regulatory considerations that these companies need to address.
Dana, please describe the market opportunity in China for global merchants.
The market opportunity is enormous. You can imagine just the sheer volume of people in China make it almost impossible to fail in China if you open your market there. There's 570 billion annual revenue right now, volume coming through China, and expected to be $1 trillion within the next couple years. The opportunity there is enormous. And some of the things that merchants in the US and payment companies need to consider when they come to a new market like China is the payment solutions and not setting up your website the same way you would as if you set it up in the US or other European countries potentially. You have to customize it to be appropriate for Chinese consumer. They use different payment types. They prefer to pay in their own currency, so you need to price your products in their currency. And also, we work with a lot of companies that want to settle payments, mass disbursement of bulk file payments to Chinese recipients, and those need to be in local currency, direct to a bank account, the same way you would do in another country that you were sending payments to.
And Raymond, how are licensing and regulatory laws in China different than other countries, and why is that problematic for companies?
Well, in the past 40 years, the Chinese monetary policy is always easy in, difficult out. They encourage the direct foreign investment and increase the export. As a result, today, China becomes the biggest foreign reserve countries in the world. It's almost $4 trillion by the end of July 2014. So it's kind of risky for Chinese government. So they start to take some action to reduce the risk. So one of the new policies can be described as easy out, difficult in. Say they use a CNH, which is a free currency. Say they want more and more people to use CNH, but they don't want that money return China easily to avoid the inflation. So if you remember the old policy, easy in, difficult out, and the new policy, easy out, difficult in, actually is opposite. So it caused a lot of confusion in the movement of money in and out of China. So we have a lot of friends that are interested in China, that they went to China for regulation answers. Unfortunately, they were more confused when they come back because of the mixed information and the complicated process there. So it's very important to find a good partner who fully understands the local market and also can give you a best solution to your business.
Dana, what markets and verticals tend to be most aggressive?
The trend we're seeing now seems to fall into e-commerce, travel, education. So if you think about a parent in China that needs to pay a tuition payment for a student that's going to school in the US or in Europe, they want to pay in their own currency, they want to pay in a payment method that's relevant to their culture. Right. So all of those things play into it, but travel vertical is great. There's 100 million Chinese travelers that traveled out of China last year, and the ability to take payments from those travelers as well as pay travel vendors within China, all of those are great markets for us.
And Raymond, what are some of the hottest trends and topics regarding China monetary policy?
Well, in the last summer, Central Bank of China, they have an internal meeting, was held in Shanghai, and I was there. So first of all, they will fully open the market for any transactions related to travel, education, services, and trading, including e-commerce. The second, some transactions relate to investment, like stock, insurance. This will be partially open under some conditions. And the third, in certain region, it will be fully opened. So that region actually is Shanghai Free Trading Zone that started in 2013. And in 2015, there are 3 more cities are coming as a free trading zone. So Geoswift is specialized in navigating all those Chinese monetary policies and help our client to achieve the more efficiency and the execution of payment with China.
And Dana, what are some misconceptions by US and global companies about expanding to China?
One key misconception is if you're a big brand in the US, for example, maybe you manufacture designer handbags, you may think, oh, I don't think there's much market for my brand in China. The truth is that the Chinese can't go to a manufacturer and buy direct. They look for Western brands. They have a fascination actually with anything Western related, so they end up paying a premium sometimes, but to the Chinese, it's like if you know the product's not counterfeit and they know that it's from a US site, it's definitely very important to them. Another misconception is if you don't have a big marketing budget to market your products in China, that they won't be aware of your brand.
Right.
And the Chinese shopper, I would say, is quite savvy, and they know Western brands, even based, they're travelers, they're world travelers. And so we have a lot of clients who may start in China and think it'll end up being 15% of their business. One client in particular, it ended up 70% of their volume now comes from China. And more times than not, just the sheer numbers of shoppers there, it's a great market.
And Raymond, we know Geoswift is also running retail FX business in China. What's your opinion on the exchange rate on RMB? Is it undervalued? And what's the trends of RMB versus US dollars?
We got the special license from Central Bank of China to run the foreign exchange retail business there. Today, we have 24 outlets in 8 major cities in China and are still expanding. So China valuation is a hot topic. There's no right answer to that question because the only certainty of the foreign exchange is uncertainty. But for any central bank of government, there are 3 key factors they need to take care: interest rate, exchange rate, and inflation rate. Nobody can control all 3, but only 1 or 2 can be controlled. So I'm a Canadian, for example, Central Bank of Canada, they are more focused on controlling interest rate and inflation rate. And as a result, we can see the Canadian dollars up and down in the past few years. Sure. In the future, China government, they will change, maybe similar to Canada. They will pay more attention on the controlling interest rate and inflation rate. So we'll see RMB won't be as stable as today.
And Dana, how are cross-border payments and local pricing and payment methods critical to a merchant's business and conversion online?
One of the things merchants have to consider when they start selling online is any friction in the checkout process. That merchants will say, if somebody leaves your site to go answer the phone, there's a propensity that they're going to drop off and not check out. Likewise, if you have to leave the site to go check a foreign exchange rate because the merchant priced it in US dollars instead of renminbi, that's a problem because it can affect your conversion rate. So local pricing, not just in China, but anywhere you expand your online business, considering the local population and making sure that they want to pay in relevant payment methods that are familiar to them, as well as seeing their own currency and the pricing. They don't want to have to guess how much it's going to cost and how many fees that they're going to incur when they get their final bill. So that's important.
And Dana, why is it better to pay recipients in China in local currency?
We work with a lot of big financial partners that need to do mass payouts. So it can be anything from affiliate payments to travel partners to employee sales commissions. When they're doing that, just like here, if you were to receive a payment, you'd want it direct to your bank account, you'd want it in your own currency. And same way there, the difference is in China, it's very difficult, and there's not many providers that are able to do that, and it requires a banking infrastructure. Geoswift manages that process and allows them to do that easily the same way they would in other parts of the world.
And Raymond, how are your payment solutions for China unique from banks and other financial institutions that offer payments for China?
The banking system, they are designed for the one-to-one transactions. So for example, if you want to wire 10,000 US dollars to another person, you walk into any branch and do that transfer. But today, people buy from the internet. That's all the small transactions, $5 or $10 or $20. So there's many transactions which are big volume, but in a low value. For example, we have a client who sends us 2 million US dollars a day and want to distribute to over 130,000 recipients in China. You cannot expect a bank to do a 130,000 wire transfer for the small amount. It didn't make sense. So our solution is more like many-to-many or one-to-many solution by one click, and we settled to all the recipients in China. So I think we are not competing with the bank. We are working with them.
And Dana, what does your ideal business partner look like in the U.S.?
The partners that we tend to work with that find our solutions most relevant for their business are large financial companies, payment processors, acquirers that need to offer China solutions to all of their merchants. So they may be able to settle and collect payments globally, but China is a very unique market, so they need a partner to help them with that. And we partner with those companies, enable their services so that they can offer it to their merchants. Typically, we're white labeled and they don't know it's us, but it's a service that we offer sort of on the back end that lets them pay and collect from China.
And Raymond, you're the CEO of this company, of Geoswift. You're also the founder. Do you have any competition?
We don't see that be a competition because that's related to our business philosophy. So look at today, the internet, they changed the whole world a lot. Okay, but that is one of the most important changes is fragmentation.
Right.
Everything is cut into pieces. So it used to be a picture, but now become puzzles. For the international trading, there used to be a one order with $500,000 US dollars, but now it's become very small transactions. So some people think, well, it's okay. We just put money to put everything back, put the puzzle back, then everything back to normal. And the old policies, old procedures can apply. Personally, I don't think that's the right way to do it because every business should focus on your core business. If I'm good at this puzzle, you are good at that puzzle, and she is good at that puzzle, and we should work together, and then we can easily put the puzzle back and get the picture immediately. So it's not competition, it's a cooperation. I'm very glad a lot of companies, they agree on our business philosophy, so become our business partners. So I think if you really want to be success in China, there's three things you need to remember. The first, find a partner.
Right.
And number 2, find a good partner. And then number 3, find a great partner.
Dana, how did you get involved in Geoswift?
Actually, I've known Raymond for a number of years, and funny enough, in the payments industry for 10, 12 years now, there was always a gap in the market that I would find. Not just China, but there's a few areas. China, India, Brazil, all tend to be areas that are difficult to work in. And so I noticed that Raymond was at Geoswift now, and I kind of scrolled through his profile and thought, oh gosh, he's doing exactly what the solution is that all these merchants in the US are looking for. So I reached out to him, and that's kind of where we started here. And I launched the US office, and they've been going strong in Europe, and we have offices also in Shanghai and Hong Kong, but now we have offices in the US as well.
Lastly, Raymond, how do you describe Geoswift in the industry? A new competitor entering the US, which you just touched on, or a friend with good faith?
What we try to achieve is we don't have enemies.
Right.
We want to be the partners. So as I said, if we all agree on the business philosophy of cooperation instead of competition, actually everyone can get better and better. It's a win-win, not head-to-head competition.
Right. You're bringing so many solutions to businesses, to banks, to commerce. And it looks like Geoswift has all the expertise needed to help companies with their cross-border payments with China. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Raymond. Thank you, Dana. Thank you. And thank you for watching. For Worldwide Business, I'm Kathy Ireland.